Do you truly know yourself?
This moment is the day that the Lord has made.
Do we truly know ourselves? What about ourselves? A lot of the times we could be very like self-centered or not self-centered, and then we become people pleasers. So like a lot of times like we go up from one extreme to the next. So it's like it's either all about me or it's nothing about me and all about everything else. Everything and everybody else. And whoop, my phone almost. In terms of being a young Christian and having a relationship with God is I recognize that the more that I get to know God, the more that I get to know myself, and the more that I get to know myself, the more that I get to know God. So it's like in tandem, working really cool. So it's like, alright, what do I like? I like cheese. Cheese is my favorite word, by the way. Say it with me. Cheese. But I like to socialize. I like to spend time with people. Then, like, on the flip side, well, that is true. I also like to be by myself and I like to be alone. And it's like, okay, why do you like that? And for me, the reason why I like to be alone and why I've been just comfortable with my own company is because as I grew up, I was just by myself a lot. My parents would work a lot. So like even if they're in the house, they would be busy. So the way that I grew up, I would be by myself a lot. I would always have books to read. I'd be in my room. I'd be reading. My parents, well, if they're in the house with me, they would just be busy, either watching TV to relax or doing work. So I had to get used to being by myself. And it's like, okay, so I like being by myself. And I know the reason why I like being by myself. Okay, I also like to socialize with people because being around people makes me feel like I'm wanted and I'm needed. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't feel as wanted or as needed because I was always too young or too small, or my parents didn't have enough time to include me in what they were doing all of the time. Sometimes yes, but not all of the time. And then at primary school, I was dark. And they used to make fun of my lips. And so then I felt excluded. So I felt like isolated and alone up by myself. So that is why I like to be around people. And it's like, okay, what's the substitute for that? And it's like, okay, as a young lady, you could easily substitute that. For me, I know for me for sure, I easily substituted that with male attention. And I grew up with a lot of male cousins, so I saw how they treated women and how they would treat women. So I internally started to do that, and I was tricking the fellas because it was like they can't trick me because I see my cousins trick. I see my family trick the girls, so the fellas can't trick me. And God showed me that like all of those little avenues open up doors for like the spirit of adultery and sexual immorality in my life because I felt lonely, and since I felt lonely, I wanted to feel wanted and needed, and because I didn't trust the other gender, then it made me unkind to the other gender. And it's like, okay. And it's like, okay, is what I like good? And it's not a bad thing to want to feel wanted, but it is the way how we execute that desire that makes it bad. When we do it from our own selfish perspectives and in our own selfish ways and in ways that are not pleasing to God. So it's not in a loving way, it's in a self-centered way or in a selfish way. And in all of those things, then when I compare and line up myself to God, I'm able to understand why God says these certain things that he says, why he tells parents to train up the child in the way that it should go and they should not depart from it. Because unconsciously we teach people things even if we don't verbally do it, or we don't say, okay, you go here, you go there, you go there. But everything that is done has a purpose and it has an impact in our lives. So then, obviously, for me now, it's like God came and like He just like reworked everything, and it's like, this is not a good practice. That is not a good practice. This came from that. This came from that. And in learning myself, I got to learn God, because when I was honest with myself and I said, oh, that was not the best way to go about that aspect of wanting to be around people and wanting to feel loved. Then God was able to step in and say, you know what, Crystal, this is what true love looks like. This is how people that actually want you will treat you. People that actually value you will treat you. So they're not going to ask you for pictures of your body, or they're not going to ask you for sex, or they're not going to try to get you to do things that you are uncomfortable with. But they're going to be patient. And then that's where we bring in the word now. It said love is kind, love is patient, it keeps no record of wrong. It does not repay evil for evil, and like all of these scriptures just flood back. And as I understood God, then I understood why God says certain things are sinful, because in my life I could see how they have negatively impacted me. And a lot of times we think, you know, I was always this way. But really and truly, there is a part in us that we probably can't remember, because a lot of things I could not remember. Probably like my coping mechanism to just like forget. But there are a lot of things that I could not remember that God brought back to my memory. He said, well, Crystal, you were hurt at this current point in time in your life, and this is the way that you dealt with it, and this is why you practice this particular sin. This is why you practice making a lot of sexual jokes. This was like before. This is like maybe like a couple of years ago. Okay, Crystal, this is why you make a lot of sexual jokes. This is why you tease people. This is why you start relationships and then you get scared and you just fall out. This is why it's hard for you to commit. This is why you feel this pain. This is why this is why that. And as I got to know myself, I got to know God more. I got to find out that He is understanding and He is loving and He cares about me and He doesn't want me to be in pain. And the reason why He's telling me, Crystal, you need to change the way that you speak. Crystal, you need to change the way that you do things, is because He knows that I am operating from a place of hurt and a place of neglect, and that is not healthy for me. And He really and truly just wants to save me. So my encouragement for you today is to be honest with yourself so that you can be honest with God. Be honest with God so that He can show you how to be honest with yourself, so that He can start that process of saying, you know what, come and get to know me and I'll show you the areas in your life where you're hurt. Come and get to know me and I will teach you how to love yourself. Come and get to know me and I will show you how much I love you. Come and get to know me so that I can place healthy people in your life that will support you, that's not going to use you, that's not going to cheat you, that's not going to try to harm you, that's not going to try to take from you, that's actually going to give to you. And that is my message for you today. So have a great day, and remember that God absolutely loves you.
This moment is the day that the Lord